What if I told you that half of Gen Z, like the entire generation currently sitting in high school classrooms or college lecture halls right now, is planning to just ditch the traditional 4-year college path completely?
Yeah, it's wild. And we aren't just talking about, taking a gap year to travel or whatever.
Right.
We are talking about a permanent, fundamental pivot to blue-collar work, the skilled trades, and just alternative education in general.
Which is literally 50% of an entire generation.
Exactly. I mean, they're already being dubbed the tool belt generation.
Yeah.
And it is completely upending the American economy as we know it.
It really is. This is TeensCore Podcast, where we help you stop being broke, build smart money habits, and take control of your financial future early.
Love that.
So today, we have a really specific mission for this deep dive. We are staring down this absolute mountain of brand new 2026 data.
A mountain is an understatement. It's a lot to process.
Yeah, seriously. We're talking about comprehensive reports from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, Georgetown Center on Education and the Workforce, the Federal Reserve, and this sweeping new federal legislation that just completely rewrote the rules of student debt.
Which nobody is talking about yet.
Right. So our goal today is to synthesize all of this for you, to figure out if college is actually truly worth the money in 2026.
And more importantly, exactly how you can avoid the financial traps that absolutely ruined previous generations. Because, millennials and Gen Z kind of walked blindly into a buzzsaw.
Oh, 100%. And you really do need to understand the mechanics of this, because as a young adult right now listening to this, you are facing the most challenging, complex educational economy in recent history.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it in perspective for you, the cost of college has essentially doubled in the 21st century. Doubled.
Which is insane.
It is. And at the exact same time, the federal rules governing how you actually borrow that money and how you are forced to pay it back have structurally changed this year.
So the safety nets are basically gone.
Exactly. If you make the wrong choice at age 18, it is no longer just this, minor misstep where you spend a few years finding yourself.
Yeah, it's not a cute coming-of-age movie anymore.
No, it's not. You are potentially setting yourself up for a lifetime of just unmanageable, inescapable debt.
Okay, so let's get right to the foundation of this problem. Because before we can even talk about what a specific career pays or what AI is doing to the job market, which we will get to, we have to establish what it actually costs to get to the starting line.
Right, the entry fee.
Yeah, we need to talk about the literal price tag, but also this broader concept of time. So break down the cash costs for us first. What are families actually looking at in 2026?
Okay, so according to the latest data from the Education Data Initiative, the average cost of college in the United States right now is $38,270 per student per year.
Wow, almost 40 grand a year.
Yeah, and it's crucial to understand what that number actually represents. It is not just tuition. It's a blended average that includes tuition, mandatory university fees, room and board, those ridiculously expensive digital access codes for textbooks, and just, basic daily living expenses.
Like eating pizza at 2 a.m.
Exactly. And the reality is the quote-unquote 4-year degree is largely a myth for a lot of students nowadays.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If you multiply that 38,000 by 4, or honestly, 5 or 6 years, which is the reality for students who change majors or, can't get into the prerequisite classes they need, we are looking at the equivalent of a mortgage.
A mortgage for a house you don't even get to live in.
Right. And the national student debt reflects that exact reality. The total outstanding student loan debt in this country is currently sitting at $1.83 trillion.
Trillion with a T.
Trillion. And the average federal borrower owes almost $40,000 by the time they walk across the stage to get their diploma.
So when you're trying to calculate if college is worth it, the initial cash investment is just undeniably monumental. But, and this is a huge but, that cash outlay is really only half the equation.
Which is the scary part.
Yeah. The other half, the part that most 18-year-olds literally never consider, is what economists call opportunity cost.
Okay, this is the concept that I think completely changes the math for you. Let me frame this for you, the listener, with a scenario. Let's say I walked up to you right now as an 18-year-old and offered you a choice.
Okay, I'm listening.
Option A, I hand you a briefcase containing $160,000 in cash, free and clear, today.
Sounds pretty good.
Right. Option B, I give you a piece of paper that might help you earn a higher salary a decade from now, but, there are no guarantees. Which one are you taking?
I mean, most people would take the $160,000 immediately, and rationally, they should.
But the wild thing is, this isn't some hypothetical thought experiment for a college economics class. That is literally the choice you are making when you decide between working right out of high school and sitting in a college dorm.
It really is. Let's look at the mechanism behind that analogy because it's so important. If you are an 18-year-old high school graduate and you decide to enter the workforce immediately, just working a full-time job for those 4 years instead of going to college, you are going to earn roughly $160,000 to $200,000 in gross income during that time.
Just working an entry-level job.
Exactly. That is based on current median wages for high school graduates in basic entry-level positions.
So you are basically passing up $160,000 just for showing up, working a regular job, and gaining basic professional skills instead of sitting in a lecture hall taking Biology 101.
Yes. When you choose to go to college, you aren't just paying the university that $38,000 a year in tuition and expenses. You are actively sacrificing that immediate $160,000 in cash you could have earned in the real world.
It's like a double whammy.
It is. But it goes deeper than just the raw salary. You are giving up 4 years of actual on-the-job experience. When you finally graduate at 22, you're competing against the person who's been working in the industry for 4 years.
Right. They've been getting promotions, building a professional network, maybe managing people already.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, for your long-term wealth, you are missing out on 4 years of early contributions to retirement accounts.
Oh, compound interest. It's brutal.
It's massive. If that worker puts just a fraction of their income into a 401k from age 18 to 22, the compound interest on that money over the next 40 years is just staggering. It can be the difference between retiring comfortably at 55 and, working until you're 70.
So for you listening, when you're sitting there trying to decide if a degree is worth the investment, your baseline isn't zero.
Right.
You can't just look at the tuition bill and say, okay, I just need to make enough to pay back my loans. The bar for college actually paying off is astronomically higher.
You have to earn back the tuition, the loan interest, plus the $160,000 in lost wages you sacrificed, plus the lost compound interest on retirement savings.
It's a massive hole to dig yourself out of.
It is. Which brings us to the next structural problem. If the true cost of attendance is that high, where is the money coming from?
Usually the government, right?
Historically, yes, it came from the federal government in the form of relatively forgiving student loans. But the government has completely rewritten the rules for borrowing money this year.
And this is the part of the 2026 landscape that is going to, frankly, shock a lot of families. Like if you are the incoming class of 2026, the financial playbook your older siblings or your parents used is just entirely obsolete.
Burn it. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, the game has changed primarily because of this sweeping new federal legislation called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OBBBA.
OBBBA. It is a watershed moment in educational finance, and it's largely a reaction to that ballooning $1.83 trillion debt crisis we just talked about.
So how does OBBBA change things? Because people are used to getting a lot of leniency with student loans.
Well, to understand how it changes your life, we first have to understand the death of the SAVE plan.
Right. RIP to this SAVE plan.
Seriously. The SAVE plan was an income-driven repayment plan created a few years prior. Structurally, it was incredibly generous.
It was almost too good to be true for a lot of people.
Exactly. It offered $0 monthly payments for low-income earners, and crucially, it had a massive interest subsidy. That meant if your calculated monthly payment didn't cover the interest accumulating on your loan, the government basically subsidized the rest.
So your loan balance would never balloon out of control. Like even if you were making tiny payments, your principal wasn't growing.
Right. It was essentially a safety net. If you graduated, couldn't find a job in your field, and ended up working a minimum wage job, you were protected from compounding interest ruining your credit.
But that net has been removed.
Completely removed. The SVE plan faced numerous legal challenges regarding executive authority and, the astronomical cost to taxpayers, and it was ultimately struck down by the courts.
Wow.
Yeah. So OBBBA was passed as the legislative replacement. Now, starting July 1st, 2026, if you are a new borrower taking out a federal student loan, you are forced into one of two paths.
Okay, what are the paths?
You either take a standard fixed repayment plan that lasts 10 to 25 years, or you enroll in the brand new Repayment Assistance Plan, known as RAP.
Okay, I really want to spend some time breaking down RAP because understanding this mechanism is going to dictate your monthly budget for the next 2 decades of your life. So
yeah,
how exactly does RAP function compared to that old safety net?
RAP is fundamentally stricter. Instead of protecting you from interest, it functions almost like an additional tax bracket based on your entire adjusted gross income, or AGI.
Oof, a tax bracket.
Basically, yeah. First, there is a strict $10 per month minimum floor. Under the old OBBBA plan, if you lost your job, your payment could legally be set to zero. Under RAP, even if you earn under $10,000 a year, you are mandatorily paying at least $10 a month.
Okay. I mean, I can see the logic there, making sure borrowers always have some skin in the game. $10 is something most people can scrape together, even if things are super dire.
Right. The legislative intent was to establish a permanent, mandatory repayment relationship between the borrower and the government. But here's where it gets intense. What happens when you graduate and start making actual money?
Right. How does the scaling work?
The payments scale up in a really rigid, tiered system based on your AGI. Let's look at the brackets. If you earn between $10,000 and $20,000, the government takes 1% of your income. That's about $13 to $16 a month.
Still manageable?
Still manageable. But as you climb the income ladder, the percentage scales aggressively. If you make $40,000 to $50,000, which is very standard entry-level salary, the rate jumps to 4%.
Okay, so what is that in dollars?
That means you are paying around $150 to $160 a month.
Okay, that hurts a little more.
It does. And if you are successful and you start earning over $100,000, the government is taking a full 10% of your AGI.
Wait, 10%?
10%. That is over $900 a month leaving your bank account.
Wait, let's visualize that for the listener. Imagine you were 26 years old. You worked really hard. You got promoted. You finally hit that six-figure milestone of $100,000. You're feeling good.
Right. You feel like you made it.
Yeah. You were trying to save for a down payment on a house. Maybe you want to get married or, start a family. Before you even pay your state income tax, your federal income tax, your rent, your car payment, and your grocery bill, RAP is pulling $900 out of your checking account every single month.
Yep.
It acts exactly like a secondary permanent income tax that penalizes you right as you start achieving financial momentum.
That is insane. It's like you're being punished for getting a good job.
That is the reality of the new federal lending environment. The leniency is just gone. But OBBBA doesn't just affect the student, right? It drastically alters how parents can help too.
Oh, this is a huge point. Because a lot of 18-year-olds, they don't even look at the price tag. The assumed plan is just, oh, my parents will take out a loan to send me to my dream school.
Exactly. For decades, when a financial aid package fell short of a university's massive price tag, families would just turn to parent PLUS loans. Under the old rules, parents could essentially borrow up to the full cost of attendance year after year with a very minimal credit check.
Which is terrifying if you think about it.
It led to a secondary crisis. You had parents in their 50s and 60s taking on hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt right before they were supposed to retire.
Literally gambling their retirement on their kids' liberal arts degree. Yes. So OBBBA forcefully stops this. The new legislation caps parent PLUS loans at $20,000 annually with a strict $65,000 lifetime limit per dependent student.
Whoa. So let's do the math on that. If a private university costs $80,000 a year and the student's financial aid package only covers $30,000, there's a $50,000 gap for that freshman year alone.
Right.
The federal government is now only going to let the parents borrow $20,000 of that gap. Where on earth does the remaining $30,000 come from?
For the vast majority of middle-class families, it simply doesn't exist. They cannot manufacture that cash. This means families will be forced out of the federal system entirely and into the private student loan market to cover the spread.
And the private loan market is an entirely different beast. You are dealing with banks, not the Department of Education.
Exactly. Private loans have significantly higher, often variable interest rates. They require creditworthy cosigners.
Yeah.
And most dangerously, they offer absolutely none of the federal protections.
Right. There is no RAP plan for a private loan.
None. There's no forgiveness after 20 years. If you lose your job, the private bank still demands their full monthly payment. Furthermore, OBBBA eliminated the Grad PLUS loan program entirely.
Wait, totally eliminated?
Totally. Which previously allowed graduate students to borrow endlessly for master's degrees and PhDs. That's gone.
Wow. The overarching theme here is that the government is just turning off the easy money spigot. They are structurally tightening credit across the board.
Yes. It forces a reckoning at the kitchen table. Choosing a wildly expensive out-of-state or private university now means a family has to sacrifice their daily consumption, drain their retirement accounts, or risk predatory private loans. The era of borrowing your way into a prestigious school, regardless of the underlying cost, is legislatively over.
Which, naturally brings us to the next major piece of the puzzle. Because borrowing is vastly more restrictive, and because you are going to be on the hook for up to 10% of your income under the RAP plan, your chosen major is no longer just a journey of self-discovery or, following your passion.
No, it's not.
It is a matter of basic financial survival. If you take out $50,000 entity debt to get a degree that only qualifies you for a job paying $35,000 a year, the math simply does not work in 2026. You will be crushed.
And the federal government is actually enforcing that exact logic at the institutional level now. This is where we see the introduction of the Stats Earnings Premium Test.
Right. Break down the mechanics of this test for us. How does the government actually measure if a degree is worth it?
So this is the new regulatory reality for universities, and it shifts the accountability directly onto the colleges. The Department of Education now links graduation data with IRS tax data.
Oh, wow. So they really know what you're making.
They absolutely know. To continue receiving federal financial aid dollars, which, make no mistake, is the lifeblood that keeps almost every college in America, solvent individual degree programs must pass this earnings premium test.
Okay, how does a program pass?
They look at the graduates of a specific program, say the sociology program at a particular state university. If the graduates of that specific sociology program do not out-earn the median high school graduate age 25 to 34 in their specific state, that college program essentially fails the test.
Think about the gravity of that for a second. If an entire 4-year college degree program, which costs students tens of thousands of dollars, cannot prove that its graduates make more money than someone who just walked out of high school with a basic diploma, the government is cutting off federal funding to that program.
Completely cutting it off.
It's basically a massive federally mandated red flag for you, the consumer, saying, hey, this degree is a mathematically bad investment.
It creates a definitive floor for educational value. It forces colleges to either improve the job placement of their graduates, lower the tuition cost of that specific program, or just shut the program down entirely.
Which is huge.
But if we want to know what actually pays off right now, we have to look at the other end of the spectrum. We have the data from the NCA Winter 2026 Salary Survey to see the salary winners.
Yes, let's get to the heavy hitters. Because if you are a listener taking out these loans, what are the majors that are actually printing money right out of the gate in 2026?
Unsurprisingly, the winners are heavily concentrated in STEM and highly technical fields. Computer sciences is leading the pack as a broad category. The average starting salary for a CS grad is now $81,535.
$81,000. That's a great start.
It's a massive 6.9% increase from just last year, driven mostly by the intense demand for AI developers and data architects. Engineering is right behind it at $81,198. But if we look at specific individual majors, petroleum engineering is the undisputed king.
Petroleum engineering. Now, some people might find that super surprising, given the massive cultural push for green energy and electric vehicles. Why is that specific major commanding so much cash?
Graduates with a degree in petroleum engineering are seeing an astonishing average starting salary of $100,750.
Over $100,000, straight out of undergrad.
Straight out of undergrad. The mechanism here is basic supply and demand, combined with highly specialized technical knowledge. While there is a global transition toward renewable energy, the world still runs on legacy energy systems.
Right.
The older generation of petroleum engineers is retiring, and very few students are entering the field due to the cultural focus on tech and green energy. So, energy companies are forced to pay massive, massive premiums to recruit the small pool of young talent who can actually manage and optimize these incredibly complex, highly profitable extraction operations.
That is life-changing money. But let me step into the shoes of the listener for a second.
Yeah.
Not everyone wants to be an engineer.
Sure.
Not everyone can pass advanced thermodynamics or organic chemistry,
Yeah.
What happens to the student who just gets a general communications degree or a broad social sciences degree? Because they don't really know what they want to do yet. They just want the college experience and the piece of paper that says they graduated.
The data provides a very harsh reality check for that student. Social sciences are the only major category seeing a decrease in starting salaries in 2026.
The decrease. Ouch.
They are down 1.7%, dropping to an average of $66,155. And if we look at fine arts, the starting salary average is around $37,000, with massive downward variations depending on the cost of living in your region.
So under the new RAP loan rules, you could go $40,000 into debt for an arts degree, only to make $37,000 a year. And the government is still going to mandate their percentage of your income.
Exactly. Furthermore, even business degrees, which parents and students historically view as the safe, generic, default option, are showing a massive internal divide.
What do you mean?
General business administration degrees are seeing historically high rates of underemployment. You cannot just graduate with a general business degree anymore and expect a high-paying corporate job. To see the real salary bumps in the business sector, which average around $68,000 this year, you have to specialize.
Specialization is key.
Yes. Employers are demanding hard, quantifiable skills. You need a specialization in data analytics, quantitative finance, or global supply chain logistics. The era of the generic degree acting as a golden ticket to the middle class is completely dead.
It makes total sense. Like if you hand an employer a resume that just says business, it's like going to a restaurant and telling the waiter you'd like to order food.
Right.
The employer's looking at you asking, okay, but what kind of food? What can you actually do for this company on day one?
Exactly. And that question, what can you actually do, brings us to the most disruptive force in the 2026 economy, artificial intelligence.
This is the elephant in the room. Because calculating your major isn't just about what a job pays today in this current snapshot. It is about whether that job is even going to exist in 5 or 10 years. If you're taking on 30 years of debt, you need a 30-year career.
In 2026, the question, is college worth it, is completely inextricably linked to the question, can AI do this job?
Oh, absolutely.
The World Economic Forum and Goldman Sachs recently released comprehensive analyses estimating that 300 million full-time jobs globally are exposed to AI disruption. That represents roughly 60% of all occupations in advanced economies.
Wait, 300 million jobs?
Yes.
That is essentially the entire population of the United States applied globally. So if I'm a student listening to this and I'm filling out my college application right now, where is the danger zone? What majors are walking straight into the buzzsaw of automation?
To understand the danger zone, we have to look at how AI actually works. AI doesn't necessarily replace entire professions overnight. It replaces specific tasks.
Okay, that's a good distinction.
The danger zone includes any major that leads to a career built heavily around routine data processing, predictable writing formulas, or non-specialized administrative workflows. The Federal Reserve analysis shows that generative AI is exceptionally good at structured clerical tasks.
Like?
For example, degrees leading to general bookkeeping, routine market research, basic copywriting, or data entry. To give you some hard numbers from the models, statistics as a profession has a 70% automation risk. Sociology sits at 38%.
Wait, statistics has a 70% automation risk. That sounds counterintuitive. Isn't data a massive growth field?
It is, but the mechanism of statistics cleaning data sets, running standard regressions, generating baseline reports is exactly what AI algorithms can do in seconds with near-perfect accuracy.
Ah, I see.
The human statistician is still needed for high-level interpretation and experimental design, but the entry-level analyst jobs, the ones recent college grads usually take, are being heavily automated. Sociology is vulnerable because much of it involves synthesizing large amounts of qualitative literature and identifying patterns, which large language models just excel at.
So if 70% of the entry-level tasks in these fields are disappearing, how does a student guarantee they have a seat when the music stops? What are the actual AI-proof majors in 2026?
You need to look for careers that require a combination of 3 specific things: physical presence, deep human empathy, and high-stakes ethical judgment.
Physical presence, empathy, and judgment.
Exactly. AI, in its current and near-future forms, cannot replicate these at scale. For example, special education has only a 12% automation risk. Nursing and cybersecurity both sit at a highly secure 15% risk level.
Right.
Physical therapy, physician assistants, specialized social work, these are roles where a human in the physical room making nuanced, empathetic decisions is absolutely non-negotiable.
But let me advocate for the arts and humanities students out there. What if a listener's true passion really is English literature or art history or philosophy? What if they genuinely love a subject that currently sits squarely in the high vulnerability zone? Do they just have to abandon their passion and become a nurse or a cybersecurity analyst to survive?
Not necessarily, but they can no longer be naive about it. They have to be incredibly strategic. They need to utilize what workforce development experts are calling the degree stack strategy.
The degree stack. How does that work in practice?
If you love a vulnerable subject, you can still major in it, but you must stack it with a minor, a double major, or a rigorous professional certificate in a highly durable, tech-fluent field.
Okay, give me an example.
For instance, you major in English, but you minor in data science, computer science, or operations analytics. You major in art history, but you get a specialized certificate in cybersecurity or user experience design.
I see the logic. You're basically combining the soft skills of the humanities with the hard skills of tech.
Precisely. Employers in 2026 don't just want isolated coders who can't communicate, and they don't just want brilliant writers who don't understand technology. They want domain expertise combined with AI fluency.
Right.
An English major who understands how to build and query a database, or who understands the ethical parameters of training an AI model, is incredibly valuable. They want someone who understands the human, qualitative element of a problem, but has the technical chops to leverage AI to solve it efficiently.
It's like building your own custom professional superpower. You become the philosopher who can code or the historian who can run the logistics software.
Exactly.
But even with the degree stack strategy, a 4-year university isn't the only option on the table anymore. In fact, for a massive chunk of Gen Z, it's not even the preferred option. Let's loop back to that crazy statistic from our intro. Half the generation pivoting to the trades. The rise of the tool belt generation.
Yes. The massive pivot to the skilled trades is arguably one of the most significant demographic and economic shifts we are tracking this decade. Right now, 55% of Gen Z is actively considering a career in the skilled trades instead of a traditional college path.
What is driving this? Because 10 years ago, the cultural push was college at all costs. Every high school guidance counselor was pushing the 4-year degree like it was the only way to survive.
A major driver is actually social media, specifically platforms like TikTok and YouTube Shorts. You now have young, successful tradespeople, plumbers, electricians, welders, showing off their daily lives online.
Yeah, I've seen those videos.
They are showing their massive paychecks at age 21, their complete lack of student debt, and their absolute job security. They are making the trades look accessible, lucrative, and cool, and the cultural stigma is evaporating.
It really is.
The data shows that 93% of parents now explicitly support their children choosing a trade path over a 4-year college. The outdated idea that trade school was just a backup plan for kids who couldn't cut it academically is completely dead.
And it's dead because the underlying math is just undeniable. Let's break down this math side by side, college versus trade school.
Let's look at the upfront training time and the raw cost. As we established, a traditional college degree averages nearly $40,000 a year, and the majority of students take 5 or 6 years to finish, meaning massive time out of the workforce.
Right.
A trade school program, on the other hand, costs between $5,000 and $15,000 in total.
Not per year, total.
Total. And the curriculum is hyper-focused, taking anywhere from just 6 to 24 months to complete. Because of this drastically lower cost and shorter timeline, the average trade school graduate enters the workforce with only $10,000 in total student debt, compared to the nearly $40,000 burden for a college graduate.
I mean, if we think about this like a financial marathon, the trade school graduate gets to start the race 2 or 3 years before the college graduate even shows up to the starting line.
Yes.
They're already running, earning money, and building wealth. And when they run, they're only carrying a 10-pound backpack of debt. Meanwhile, the college graduate finally shows up to the race at age 22, but they are strapped into a 40-pound backpack of federal and private loans, plus the RAP payment taking 10% of their energy. Who is going to reach the finish line of buying a house or achieving financial stability first?
The data clearly points to the tradesperson in that scenario, and they aren't just starting earlier. They are starting with highly competitive salaries in fields experiencing massive, desperate worker shortages.
Oh, the shortages are huge right now.
The older generation of tradespeople is retiring, and there's a huge vacuum. Let's look at the median numbers. Certified welders are averaging $58,422 a year straight out of training.
Nice.
Commercial truck drivers with a CDL are making between $55,000 and $65,000 immediately. Dental hygienists, which is typically a rigorous 2-year program, are earning a median salary of $76,000.
$76,000 for 2 years of schooling and a fraction of the debt. And going back to our AI conversation, you cannot outsource a burst pipe to a server farm in another country.
No, you can't.
You can't prompt an AI chatbot to climb onto a roof and install a solar panel or fix the air brakes on an 18-wheeler. These jobs are fundamentally anchored in the physical world.
They possess incredible intrinsic job security that knowledge workers simply do not have right now. And if you want to take the financial equation all the way down to absolute zero debt, we have to talk about the gold standard of the alternative economy.
Which is?
Registered apprenticeships. This is the earn while you learn model, Right now, there are over 593,000 active apprentices in the United States, and that number is growing rapidly.
Let's clarify the mechanism here. What exactly makes an apprenticeship structurally different from going to a trade school?
In a trade school or a community college, you are still the customer. You are paying tuition to an institution in order to learn a skill in a classroom or a mock shop.
Right.
In an apprenticeship, you are an employee from day one. You are hired by a company or a union. You get paid a starting wage to learn on the actual job site, working directly under the supervision of a master tradesperson, often called a journeyman.
So you're actually out in the field.
Exactly. You also take classroom instruction to learn the theory and the codes, but the employer usually covers the cost of that instruction completely. The process takes 2 to 5 years, depending on the trade.
So you are literally getting paid to be educated.
Yes. You graduate with 0 student debt, you have years of real-world experience, and the average salary for a worker who completes a registered apprenticeship is $80,000 a year.
0 debt and an $80,000 salary at age 22 or 23. It sounds almost like a financial cheat code, but it's just the reality of market supply and demand. We desperately need infrastructure built and maintained.
We do.
But this raises a huge question. If everyone is wising up to the massive cost of college, if they are terrified of the new RAP loan rules, if they are exploring the trades and looking at AI risks, what are the colleges doing?
That is the million-dollar question.
Are they just sitting back and watching this happen? Because this sounds like an existential crisis for higher education.
They are, quite frankly, terrified. The entire higher education sector is bracing for impact, and it brings us to a demographic phenomenon known as the 2026 enrollment cliff.
The enrollment cliff. That sounds incredibly dramatic. What exactly is falling off the cliff?
The primary customer base is falling off the cliff. To understand why this is happening now in 2026, we have to look backward at the geopolitical and economic history of the 2008 Great Recession.
Okay, take us back.
During the financial crisis, millions of Americans lost their homes, their jobs, and their economic security. Because of that massive uncertainty, there was a drastic, sustained drop in birth rates across the United States.
Oh, wow. People couldn't afford kids.
Exactly. People simply stopped having children or delayed having them because they couldn't afford it. Fast forward exactly 18 years, and those missing babies from 2008 are the high school graduating classes of today.
So it's not just that high schoolers are choosing the trades over college. It's that there are literally, biologically, fewer 18-year-olds in existence to even apply.
Correct. The demographic math is unavoidable. Colleges are projected to lose 576,000 prospective students between 2025 and 2029.
500,000 students just gone.
That represents a massive 15% drop in total enrollment across the country. And this demographic drought is not hitting every state equally. The regional impacts are highly localized and drastic.
Who gets hit the hardest?
The West, the Northeast, and the Midwest are bracing for massive declines of 16 to 20% in their college-age populations. The South is the only region expected to see slight growth, largely due to internal domestic migration patterns over the last decade.
Let's put this into perspective. If I am a college administrator at a mid-tier regional university in the Midwest, I'm looking at a spreadsheet that says up to 20% of my revenue is just going to vanish over the next 3 years.
Poof. Gone.
And they still have to pay the professors, maintain the buildings, and pay off the massive loans they took out to build the luxury dorms and lazy rivers. So what does this mean for the listener? How can a high school senior use this desperation to their advantage?
It means the power dynamic in higher education has completely shifted. For decades, colleges acted as the gatekeepers. They rejected students to lower their acceptance rates and artificially inflate their prestige. They acted like they were doing you a favor by letting you pay them $40,000 a year.
Right. You should be lucky to be here.
Exactly. Today. They are desperate to fill empty beds in their dorms and empty seats in their lecture halls. As a student in 2026, you should expect incredibly aggressive recruitment tactics.
So you don't just accept the first offer they give you.
Never. You should absolutely be negotiating your financial aid packages. If College A offers you a $10,000 scholarship, you take that letter to College B and ask them to beat it.
You literally haggle.
You haggle. You will see widespread tuition discounting, where colleges massively slash their sticker price behind the scenes just to get you to commit and keep their enrollment numbers up. But, and this is a critical warning, this desperation brings extreme risk for the student.
What's the risk if you're getting a huge discount? That sounds like a win.
The Federal Reserve estimates that dozens, potentially up to 80 smaller, tuition-dependent private and regional colleges could face complete closure by 2029.
complete closure, like bankrupt.
Bankrupt. If you enroll in a financially unstable college, lured in by a massive discount, that school might literally go bankrupt, lose its accreditation, and permanently close its doors before you even finish your degree.
That is a nightmare scenario. Imagine being a junior. You've taken out $30,000 in loans. You are 1 year away from graduating, and you get an email on a Tuesday saying your college is shutting down forever. Your credits might not transfer perfectly to another school, and you are left with the debt but no degree.
Exactly. So in 2026, you cannot just research a college's football team, their campus life, or their dining halls. You have to research the underlying financial health of the institution itself.
So what do you ask them?
You have to ask admissions counselors about the school's endowment size and their enrollment trends over the last 5 years. If enrollment is tanking, you need to be very, very careful.
Wow. Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. We've talked about the hidden opportunity costs of time, the terrifying new realities of the REP loan rules and the death of the Savvy plan, the stats earnings premium test, the existential threat of AI automation, the rise of the tool belt generation, and the demographic enrollment cliff.
It's a lot.
It is a massive amount of data to process. So I want to bring this deep dive to a practical climax. We are going to give you, the listener, a concrete go-no-go decision framework, a step-by-step checklist for navigating 2026.
Yes, this is where we synthesize all the macroeconomic data into an actionable personal strategy. Let's start with the GO criteria. When does committing to a 4-year college still make perfect mathematical and strategic sense?
Right. What is the green light?
You should pursue a traditional 4-year college path if you can definitively check these 3 specific boxes.
Okay, box number 1.
First, the actual tuition you are paying out of pocket after all grants, scholarships, and institutional discounts is under $15,000 a year.
Okay, under $15K. Box number 2.
Second, your chosen major is in a licensed professional field like nursing, accounting, or engineering, or a highly AI-proof technical field like cybersecurity.
Makes sense. Box 3.
And third, the specific university program offers guaranteed built-in internships or co-ops, ensuring that you graduate with a resume that already proves you have real-world experience. If you hit those 3 criteria, college remains an incredibly powerful engine for economic mobility.
Okay, but let's look at reality. What if a listener really wants that bachelor's degree? Maybe they want to be a teacher or an accountant, but they don't have the 4.0 GPA required for massive merit scholarships, and their local state university is still charging $25,000 a year. How do they make the math work?
That is where you utilize the most powerful tool in 2026, the cheat code.
The 2+2 strategy. Walk us through how to legally cheat the system and save a fortune.
The 2+2 strategy involves intentionally doing your first 2 years of core curriculum at a local community college. In 2026, community college tuition averages between $3,800 and $4,500 a year.
A fraction of the cost.
Exactly. You knock out all your general education requirements, your basic math, English, and history classes for pennies on the dollar, often while living at home to save on room and board.
Right.
Then, you seamlessly transfer those credits to a public 4-year university for your final 2 years to complete your specialized major.
And here is the most important part of that strategy, guys. The diploma you receive at the end of those 4 years. It only has the name of the prestigious 4-year university on it. It doesn't have an asterisk at the bottom that says, went to community college first.
Nope.
When you apply for a job, your degree is identical to the student who paid full price for all 4 years.
Exactly. By using the 2+2 strategy, families are easily saving $50,000 to $80,000 in total costs over 4 years. The stigma around community college has completely evaporated in the face of the student debt crisis. It is currently the single most effective way to secure a high ROI bachelor's degree in today's economy.
It is brilliant. Okay, so we did the GO criteria and the cheat code. Now, what is the hard no-go? When should a student just put down the pen, walk away from the admissions office, and look for another path entirely?
Do not go to a 4-year college if your projected total student loan debt at graduation will exceed your expected first-year starting salary. That is the golden rule.
Say that one more time.
Do not go if your total debt will be higher than your first-year salary. If you are taking out $60,000 in total debt to become a specialized social worker making $40,000 a year, that is a hard no-go under the new strict OBBBA loan rules.
Right.
The RP payments will mathematically crush your ability to build wealth. Furthermore, it is a no-go if you are majoring in a broad field that relies entirely on routine clerical work that is highly vulnerable to AI automation, unless you are rigorously using the degree stacking strategy we discussed earlier to build tech fluency.
So if the math is upside down, or if the robots are clearly coming for the job tasks you are studying for, you abort the mission. And if you do abort, what is the immediate pivot?
If you realize a traditional 4-year degree is a no-go for your specific situation, but you still want immediate income, zero debt, and high job security, you pivot immediately to the alternative economy.
The trades.
You actively look into trade schools for HVAC, plumbing, or electrical work. You apply for registered apprenticeships to earn an income while you learn a master skill, or you explore military pathways.
Yeah, the military is a massive option.
It is. The military not only provides immediate salary, health care, and world-class technical training, but it offers the GI Bill, which completely covers trade school or college costs later on if you decide to change your mind and pursue higher education when you are older and more financially stable.
You always have options. You are never trapped into making a bad investment just because it's what your high school counselor told you to do. You just have to fundamentally know the rules of the new game.
And as the 2026 data unequivocally prove, the rules of the game have fundamentally and permanently changed.
Well, to you listening, thank you so much for spending your time with us today on this incredibly important, heavy topic. This is the stuff they absolutely do not teach you in high school homeroom, but it is the exact stuff that dictates what your 20s, 30s, and 40s are going to look like.
Absolutely. And if we can synthesize one main overarching takeaway from all of this data, it's this. The era of the generic college degree as a golden ticket is completely over.
What?
We are now living in a ruthless, skills-first economy. Between 70 and 85% of major employers are actively dropping arbitrary degree requirements for their hiring processes. Your return on investment today is entirely dependent on 3 specific variables: your chosen major, your total debt load, and the actual quantifiable technical skills you bring to the table.
Doing this math today, right now, before you sign a master promissory note that locks you in for decades, will save you a lifetime of financial stress tomorrow. Do not just blindly follow the traditional path because it is what your friends are doing or what society expects of you.
Right. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, a concept that really builds on everything we've discussed today regarding AI and the shifting labor market: the cracking of the paper ceiling.
Oh, the paper ceiling.
I like that. For decades in this country, if you didn't have a bachelor's degree, you were systematically locked out of the best corporate jobs and the highest salaries. That ceiling was made of paper, the diploma. But as employers increasingly drop degree requirements, and as artificial intelligence shifts the value away from routine knowledge work and toward uniquely human capabilities, the future doesn't necessarily belong to the person with the fanciest, most expensive piece of paper on their wall.
Yeah.
The future belongs to the person who can continuously prove they have durable human skills, who can adapt alongside rapid technological changes, and who can solve complex, real-world problems.
Thanks for spending your time with TeensCore Podcast. Every small financial decision is shaping your future. Choose wisely.